Hey folks, so I wanted to take a little bit of time and talk to you guys about the Q&A session that was done today by the Warhammer community. Now, with that said, what is the Q&A all about? Well, this weekend we had a huge announcement about NewHammer coming in and a new way to play 40K. So I'm pretty excited. And what was really cool is they actually had the designers come in and do a Q&A session with everybody. So people could post their questions and a lot of them got answered, and we actually got a lot more information than I even anticipated. So to kind of talk a little bit about that, the actual video itself was like an hour long. I'm going to try and compress some of the feedback that we got from the developers into a little bit of a shorter video for some of us that have a little bit of limited time on our hands and can't necessarily watch that whole video. So let's talk a little bit about it. There are three different types of play style. There's like a free play where you just bring whatever models you want and you just play back and forth and have a lot of fun. Actually, all of them are going to be fun. So the second one is going to be more of a cinematic play, where it's going to be points focused on like blocks of units where everything's already going to be paid for and everything is all going to be included within that block, from what I'm understanding, and you can form your army from that, putting together all these groups of units for a certain point cost. Now there's going to be a more competitive aspect, and that is going to be built around our more accustomed paying for units, paying for upgrades, paying for abilities, and things like that. Now, within the big rule book, there are 14 different force organization charts to choose from to build your army using these various different methods. Now, as you build up your army using these force organization charts, you're going to be awarded what are called command points. These command points can be used to purchase abilities. These abilities can be used within the game, but only once per phase. We're going to learn a lot more about these abilities later on as the weeks pass by. Now, if you stick to an actual force organization chart and fill all the requirements for them, and basically create a very cinematic or very, I should almost say fluffy or interesting list, you can be awarded a lot more command points to be able to use on abilities and use during the actual game. If you're starting to pick and choose from all various different types of force org charts, you're not necessarily going to get as many command points. So that's something to keep in mind. So it kind of rewards those that want to make a more thematic list. When it comes to movement values, that has been added back into the game. And for those units that are much quicker, you're going to get a lot larger number. For those that are a little bit slower, you're going to get a lower number. When it comes to, let's see, where are we on this thing? We're talking about movement values. All units can damage vehicles. This is kind of cool. So las guns and splinter weapons, everything can damage vehicles now. So that's kind of cool. And we're going to talk a little bit about that later on. When we take a look at weapons themselves, you can have armor modifiers. So those close combat weapons or ranged weapons are going to have armor modifiers, and it kind of rings back to second edition. Some of the older folks are going to be able to recognize that, as well as the movement values. Charging units, so there's going to be a benefit if you're going to be the one charging in and you're going to be striking first. But keep in mind, command points might play a bit of a role in that as well, being able to defend a little bit too. So vehicles and monstrous creatures are going to have wounds. Monstrous creatures already have that, but basically vehicles have been transitioned over from an armor value to a wound. With that said, what's really cool is you're not going to get one shot a day more with your vehicles, but as the game progresses and as you gain wounds, those monstrous creatures are not going to be as effective as they used to be. Same thing with the vehicles. So you might have had that vehicle trudging along through the whole game, and it's on just a few wounds left, and things aren't working, it's going slower, it's not shooting very well, but it's just going to feel a lot more cinematic almost, instead of this monstrous creature running around with one wound still being amazing. So that's going to be pretty neat. Templates have been removed, which I really like the idea of, because there's always the whole, well, how many people do I have under here? I think it'll make the game move a lot quicker. Any opportunity to streamline things, I think, is always a good thing. The actual game has been play tested a lot. Now, our folks at Frontline Gaming have participated in it. The folks at Adepticon have participated in it. And from what the community folks have been mentioning, they've been playing a lot and really testing out all these various different units. So that's super exciting. I'm so excited to hear on what their experiences were once they're able to share that with us. The one thing about getting new rules and new army books is that the old ones are being phased out. With that said, rather than it being kind of like incremental, it's basically going to be done right off the bat. So we're going to get a new rule book, new army lists, and things like that to work from. Very similar to the transition from second edition to third edition. This new Hammer is going to be an entirely new game, and I think it's going to benefit a lot. It's going to be a huge benefit to do that transition and everyone kind of starting from square one. When we're talking about list building apps, um, the list building app is in development. It hasn't been created yet, but we're going to see it soon. When we're talking about statistics for the units, so that stat bar, they're not capped at 10 points anymore. So for those huge vehicles, those knights, um, their wounds are going to be pretty significantly high. And probably for some of those units that are really good at shooting or really good at close combat, you're going to see their statistics much higher than 10. Allies are still in, but there are some kind of restrictions on allies. Things like sharing abilities and stuff like that have really been limited. Now, when you're looking at an ally, uh, when they have certain abilities and whatnot, it only affects that ally, that specific unit's faction. So we're probably going to see a huge reduction in those cross-faction Death Stars in the past. So I'm pretty excited about that. I like the idea of it not impacting all the various different units because I don't know. I think it's just going to really streamline things, and it's really going to create a much more cinematic environment. We're not going to have those demons and inquisitors and all kinds of marines in there doing all kinds of wackiness, which doesn't quite make much sense, and things weren't necessarily anticipated for in the past. One big thing is with the new edition or new Hammer coming out. A lot of our old books are not going to be working for this new edition, so it's pretty much starting from square one. So some of us may have purchased books within the past few weeks and before the announcement, and might be a little kind of off put, saying, "Oh my goodness, what do I do? I've got all these books I can't use anymore." Well, you know what? Games Workshop has a 4-week return policy, but because of the announcement and it being a huge transition, they're actually being amazing and opening up that up to 8 weeks. You can get more information on their website, but definitely take advantage of it if you can. I think you need your proof of purchase still, and I think you email them in for a voucher or something like that. But do take a look at their website and see what you can find, and hopefully you can take advantage of it. With that said, yeah, I think we're done. That's pretty much all I was able to capture. I tried to compress it as much as I could. And one thing for sure is if I missed anything or you guys want to add anything in that you guys noticed that I didn't mention, please do. Toss it in the comments below. I look forward to hearing your guys' feedback. I'm super excited about New Hammer, and I hope you guys are too, because it's going to be a great time. If you like this stuff, you like the content so far, the channel, please feel free to subscribe, share the video, and I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks so much. Bye now.